Just look to the man who can, if you will, prosper in the valley of the Tennessee hills. Gray cat's bit in the little cat's eye. Little cat, don't you cry. I do love liquor and we'll all take a dram. I'm a-going to tell you, pretty Polly Ann. Cows in the pasture, hogs in the pen, sheep on the ranch and the wheat in the bin. Gray cat's bit in the little cat's eye. Little cat, don't you cry. I do love liquor and we'll all take a dram. I'm a-going to tell you, pretty Polly Ann. Wagon in the shed, porter in the yard, meat in the smokehouse, big tub of lard. Gray cat's bit in the little cat's eye. Little cat, don't you cry. I do love liquor and we'll all take a dram. I'm a-going to tell you, pretty Polly Ann. Fruit in the cellar, cheese on the board, a big sack of coffee and sugar in the gourd. Gray cat's bit in the little cat's eye. Little cat, don't you cry. I do love liquor and we'll all take a dram. I'm a-going to tell you, pretty Polly Ann. Horse in the stable, money in my pocket, baby in the cradle and a pretty gal to rock it. Gray cat's bit in the little cat's eye. Little cat, don't you cry. I do love liquor and we'll all take a dram. I'm a-going to tell you, pretty Polly Ann. Howdy folks, and a great big welcome to each and every one of you. That song that I just sang came from the singing and playing of Uncle Dave Macon. Here's a long play record that I bought decades ago of his. I've got others too. On here he sings that song Gray Cat on the Tennessee farm. Uncle Dave was quite the character. In 1884 his family moved from rural Tennessee to Nashville, and they bought a hotel where a lot of vaudeville musicians would stay on their journey through the country, and Uncle Dave listened to them when he was just a little guy and learned some of their songs, and later on he convinced his mom to buy him a banjo, and he started learning how to play from all of the vaudeville musicians that were passing through. And then there was a horrible thing that happened. His father got stabbed and killed in front of the hotel. The family basically lost their income, and his mom moved back to the country where she set up a way station for horse and mule trains. Uncle Dave would sing and play for passengers that stopped off. And later on, he got his own mule team and started delivering goods around the countryside. And then he got into vaudeville, traveled around with medicine shows, and finally ended up on the Grand Ole Opry, which was started by the solemn old judge George Hayes. And George Hayes gave Uncle Dave the nickname of the Dixie Dewdrop. He did tons of records. Quite the character. Uncle Dave Macon. He would sing and play, and he would spin the banjo around while he's singing, and he would swing it, and yeah, good showman. At any rate, hope you enjoyed the song. I played it on my little short scale banjo, which I made years ago. I don't know if I've shown it or not. There's the fingerboard. Here's the peg head. I inlaid a little shark in the peg head. Here's the back of the peg head. I put a maple back strap on it. And there's the cap that goes on the pot. It's a little short scale, but I still enjoy playing it a lot. Great for playing with fiddle tunes. What I'd like to do now is a little Bible reading. So for those of you folks who are not interested in and do not want to hear a Bible reading, now's the time for you to end the video. I'll say adios, see you next time. But for those of you who are hanging on, I am reading from the book of Acts. The book of Acts is full of action, and it describes the beginning of the early church after Jesus ascended back into heaven, and the apostles were left behind, and they were the ones that started the earliest church. Chapter 2 in the book of Acts. I got my cataracts operated on. The last one was a couple of weeks ago, and I'm starting to see a little bit better without my old glasses, but still fuzzy. But here goes. The Holy Spirit comes at Pentecost. Chapter 2. When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues or languages as the Spirit enabled them. Now there were staying in Jerusalem God-fearing Jews from every nation under heaven. So all of these Jews spoke different languages, and later on, they came to visit the apostles, and they said, "We hear them declaring the wonders of God in our own tongues or languages." Amazed and perplexed, they asked one another, "What does this mean?" Some, however, made fun of them and said, "Oh, they have had too much wine." And then Peter stood up and said, "No, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. We haven't been drinking at all." And he started preaching. And he quoted from the prophet Joel. And he said, "In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days, and they will prophesy. I will show them wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and the billows of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. And everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." So, great promise for the followers of Jesus. When you become a follower of Jesus, the first thing that happens is the Holy Spirit comes to live in your heart and in your mind and in your soul. And he provides guidance, he teaches and intercedes for us. And even if we don't know what to pray about, he prays for us. And he puts a seal on us so that other folks can see that we are followers of Jesus. And he's part of the Trinity, God the Father and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So that's when the Holy Spirit first came to followers of Jesus. Great story. The whole book of Acts is full of events in history that describe how the church spread all over the Middle East and over to Turkey and Greece and all those areas. Great book to read. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the song. Hope you enjoyed the reading. And I'll say God bless, and we will see you down the road.